Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar series on healthcare. Before we get started, I want to thank the Ohio College Tech Prep Organization for being our partner for this webinar series. And I'd like to also welcome our guest this afternoon, Mary Drysdale. Thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
And we will go ahead and dive in and learn a little bit about Mary and her career. So first and foremost, I mentioned we're talking to Mary Drysdale. She is a paramedic and she works for the American Medical Response Company. So let's go ahead and dive in. First and foremost, Mary, what is your job and how does it relate to your company's success?
I am a paramedic, and I've been a paramedic for almost 24 years now. My company that I work for is a global medical transport company. So, of course, we need lots of medical personnel. We need paramedics, EMTs, nurses, pilots, all of those people to make our company successful. For the care of our patients that we transport outside of hospitals, nursing homes, and all that, we get patients from point A to point B who need medical care, but they can't stay where they are. They have to be transferred to get this medical care.
Awesome. So the role of the paramedic is incredibly important, it sounds like, and contributes directly to the success of your company. It's kind of hard to do that job without paramedics.
That's very true.
All righty. So what does a typical day look like for you? So you get into the office and you grab your cup of coffee and what's next?
The next thing I do is I check out the gear that I will need for the day: a cardiac monitor, IV supplies, any kind of medical equipment that I made, a ventilator, things of that nature. Then we check off our ambulance. We make sure that all the fluids and lights and all that are safely working, and that we have all of our disposable equipment that we might need during the day on the ambulance. The next thing that we do is we log into our dispatching system, and then we wait for calls. And once we get the calls, we go on any call that we get called on. We have to do treatments that are appropriate within our scope of practice. And we have to deal with the doctors and nurses and that nature. But when we treat our patients, we've got to treat them with not just compassion, but also with empathy too. We meet people on their worst day, so we try to make things better for them.
That is awesome. And we appreciate you, everything that you do on the worst days out there, because I've seen it and I know that you make life a lot better.
Thank you.
So you mentioned it a little bit, how long you've been working for this company and how long you've been in the industry.
Yes, I've been working for this company now for almost 6 years. I've been in the industry for almost 30.
Okay.
Both private and 911.
Okay. So if somebody needs to have medical care, they want to see you because you've got 30 years of experience.
You could say that.
So what is that one thing that you really love about your job? What is it that gets Mary up every single day and, gets you to work and gets you excited about what you're doing?
I would think it has to be meeting different people, all walks of life, just and the stories. I mean, a lot of these stories you can't make up. But one of the most interesting things that I came across was I actually transported a lady who was the maid / housekeeper for the Wright brothers bicycle shop.
Wow. That's very cool. So
Yep.
you get to meet a lot. I mean, I can't even imagine in 30 years, that's a lot of people.
That is a lot of people.
That's a lot of people. Fantastic. So how many hours a day do you spend in meetings or working in groups?
I'm not really into working into the meetings and all that, but I work with a partner every single day. And between the two of us, we work together to get the patients the proper care that they need within our scope of practice. And also we have to work with the doctors and nurses to make sure that we're following what the instructions that they want and that they know what care that we've given while we've had that patient.
That's great. That is awesome. Thank you. So what is the biggest challenge, would you say, within your job every day?
I would say one of the biggest challenges is when we have to deal with psychiatric patients. Because you never know what's going to happen. And sometimes they can be cooperative, sometimes they're not. And sometimes with your Alzheimer's patients, it can be interesting too because they're scared. So you try to make them feel comfortable, and you try to make them feel like they're safe. And that's the biggest thing, is these people need to feel safe and they need to feel confident with you. And it's instilling that confidence in that patient that is probably one of the most challenging things.
Absolutely. And especially because everybody's different. So how you
Right.
do that might vary from one person to the next. So what is the environment then? It sounds like the majority of the day you're in an ambulance.
That is correct. And it can be anywhere. I could be working from a hospital, a nursing home, a patient's house, on the street, in the woods, you name it, we could be anywhere. The company that I work for, we also do disaster deployments. So we could be at a tornado, hurricanes. We did the COVID deployments here recently. I went to New York City and I worked alongside the FDNY paramedics there. And I would have to say that was probably the most challenging, but the most humbling experience I've ever had in my career. The environment's changed. And I mean, you got to figure you work in all elements too. So it could be rain, sleet, snow, hail, you name it, we're there.
Right. Wow. So no monotony in your work environment at all.
There can be, because you do get some of the what we call frequent flyers. They'll call the same thing, and a lot of times those people really they're just lonely and they want somebody there to check on them, and things like that. So they've come up with a new program. It's called community paramedicine, and where the city will actually send out and do basically like welfare checks on these people to make sure, and that way they're not abusing the 911 system when there could be another emergency and people just want you to come check their blood pressure or something of that nature.
Absolutely. Well, that's a brilliant idea. And it saves everybody time and gets the right care to the right people at the right time.
That's correct.
So are you expected to be on call then in your field?
Not exactly when I'm off duty, because we have scheduled work days. So, but within that scheduled work day, we're on call to do the runs whenever they come in, wherever they come from, and that nature. Because you never know, nobody plans, oh, I'm going to have a heart attack on this time at this day, and stuff like that. So we're on call to a certain extent, but that's only within our work day.
Okay. All righty. So what got you to the place that you're at today? I mean, obviously what got you in the door in the first place? What education or experience did you require to get that job?
So first and foremost, you have to have a high school diploma or equivalent. Then the next thing is you need to take an EMT class. And that's you can take that at a lot of the community colleges. And also the company that I work for, we also put on an EMT class. And it's an earn while you learn. So that's kind of nice because you get to make some money. The only thing is, once you get done after you take your registry and that, to become an EMT, you have to put in a year with our company. Other than that, once you become an EMT basic, then you can go on to get your paramedic. So there's a little bit difference. A paramedic can actually give a lot of different medications and that the EMT basic can't. The paramedics are the ones that start the IVs and give the life-sustaining drugs for heart attacks and stuff like that to try to convert a lot of that. And
Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for describing the pathway too. We that's another question, but we already have hit that, so that's good. So if you had the opportunity to hire, I'm not sure if you're in the hiring cycle, but if you had an opportunity to hire, what is that? Is it the same education that you required for your position?
Yes,
Okay.
that is, it is the same.
Okay. Okay. And what is that skill? So when you have a new teammate coming on at your company, what is that skill that you really appreciate in that new employee?
Dependability. I mean, we literally, we have to be there for our patients and all that. They need to come into work into work ready to go out the door at a moment's notice, to treat the patient the way that we need to within our scope of practice, and be willing to do it every single day, day in and day out, in a timely manner and all that, so that we can get, as we call it, the most for the greater good.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You need to be able to depend on each other.
Absolutely.
So let's think about the opportunity for you to talk to a student who's maybe thinking about being a paramedic. What would you say?
The job is extremely challenging at times, but it is extremely rewarding. You may not always get that pat on the back from your boss and whatnot, but when you meet a patient on their worst day and you know you've made it better, you have the knowledge of knowing that you made a difference in that patient's life. And at some point in time, they may come back around and see you, and they'll give you that thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Patient one time, he was with the VA. His wife saw me about 10 years later and came up to me and said, "I know you. You saved my husband's life 10 years ago. Thank you so much."
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's, I mean, just little things like that. I had a 13-year-old who had passed out, unknown reason why, scared to death. Took her to the hospital. 2 days later, I get a letter at the fire station saying, "Thank you so much. I was so scared, but you really helped me get through everything."
Oh,
Little things really make the job very much worthwhile.
absolutely. And hopefully you keep all those letters because those are just absolutely priceless.
Absolutely.
So what about if you get an opportunity to talk to a teacher or guidance counselor who will be talking to students about being a paramedic? What would you want the teacher or the guidance counselor to say?
Just to let them know that this isn't, a job where you just sit around and do nothing at the firehouse, like sometimes they show on TV and stuff like that. We are much different than TV. Like the city of Dayton, a lot of those guys are doing 23 calls in 24 hours, which is a lot.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of work, but like I said, it's very rewarding. The education that you get and the continuing education that you need to do, because medicine is continually evolving. So it's one of these things where you continue to learn as you grow in
Mhm.
the field. So if you're looking for something that's challenging, rewarding, and continue to learn, because there's a lot of people out there that say they're professional students, this is the way to go.
All right. Love it. Great answer. So we talked a little bit about the career path with starting with high school education, studying to be an EMT, and then progressing to paramedic. Is there anything in addition to that from a pathway perspective?
Well, here's another nice thing is they do have a program out there now where you can do a bridge course to go from being a paramedic to being an RN also.
Mm,
Your
okay.
as a paramedic helps counts towards getting your credits in that in order to be an RN. The other
Alright.
thing is, that we also have what's called a critical care paramedic, which is a one step higher, which would be like your paramedics on your mobile intensive care units from like care flight or med flight, things like that. So there
Okay.
is the opportunity that you could grow higher to make more more difference in people's lives, because you have the more critical patients and you can't just have one person taking care of that patient. So you have a group where on a MICU you have two people, you have a nurse and a medic. In a helicopter, you either have a nurse and a medic or two nurses. So it really helps you to get experience to move up with more education.
Okay. Very cool. So there's a lot of options for starting at the EMT level. There's a lot of options to move into different areas.
Correct.
So when you start, so let's go back to the brand new EMT. What are the typical wages to start?
It really depends on where you work. If you're working for like a volunteer fire department, you're looking more on the lower end, like start out at like $15 an hour. Where
Mhm.
if you work at well, I take that back. It's about $12 an hour there, about
Mhm.
$15 an hour at private.
Okay. Okay. And then you move up, as you go to paramedic and higher levels.
Correct, correct. So I believe a brand new paramedic at my company starts out at $22 an hour, and a top out medic, which is at 10 years plus, tops out right around 36.
Okay. Great. So great livable wages
Yes,
in that career.
yes.
All right. So I asked you a lot of questions about a lot of different topics, but I'm sure I missed something. So what did I miss?
I think the biggest thing, and this was probably on my end, was the continuing education. So
Mhm.
you have to recertify at your level. For the state of Ohio, it's every 3 years. For national registry, it's every 2 years. If anybody does, the state test for Ohio is national registry.
Mhm.
Um, and my recommendation is to keep your national registry. You don't have to have that in order to keep your state card, but keep your national registry, because there may be some point in your life where you decide you want to move out of the state of Ohio. And if you have your national registry card, it makes it so much easier to transfer your license.
That's really, really good advice and great point on the continuing education. Thank you for clarifying that.
Absolutely.
Well, we've come to the end of our interview. Mary, thank you so much again for being here today. We really appreciate your time and definitely appreciate what you do every single day. So thank you very much.
And thank you for having me.
Want to thank again our Ohio College Tech Prep organization for being our partner in recording these webinars. And I want to thank everybody for being with us today.